Not yet.
Welcome to Better Credit, Better Home, your source for the latest local and national news that can impact you if you are in the market for real estate. Here are your hosts, the Kingwood mortgage guy, Mike Durr, who uses his 25 years as a mortgage professional to help people improve their credit, and Joe Salas, an accomplished home inspector, real estate agent, and trainer of new agents for Byrd Property International. Together, they will help you understand what you need to know to get the most out of your real estate investment. Let's get started.
Let's get started, man.
Happy New Year, Joe. Good to see you, brother.
Happy New Year. Good to see you. How's everything?
I got, about 90% is all good. There's always a little bit of stuff out there, but we're not going to worry about that.
Yeah,
go
that's what keeps us appreciative, right?
Go to the good stuff. That's right. So, starting off the new year, we've changed a little bit of the format here. I think this will lend itself to I don't know if it's going to be quicker or anything, but and the one thing I couldn't do is I couldn't take out the humor part because I enjoy it as much as anybody. So that's all I'm going to say.
I enjoy it.
I'm not sure we start off with a big bang this year, but this is what it's going to look like. So I changed the whole PowerPoint, and we're going to add that here. And so that's probably slide 2, but this is what the home screen looks like. It's a little different than it was before. And what we're talking about today is the housing market predictions for 2023. And then, of course, you got this stuff down here. So this is what we're going to talk about today. I've got on here my New Year's humor. What is going to happen in 2023? And you notice there's a question mark on that. Housing market prices and sales. What determines where the housing market goes? Is there going to be a housing recession? And could home prices go down? Housing market 2023, my take is back to normal. Find out how much your home is worth. Joe's going to be assistant on that one. And what about interest rates? So that is the plan. And with a little technical help and success, we'll get through that stuff today. But New Year's resolution. Did you make any New Year's resolutions, Joe?
Yes.
Yeah? You
yes.
Want to share them or no? You don't have to.
No, yeah. I want to try to drink more water. I think I read something just recently, but it was after I actually I made this promise to myself, I guess you would call it. But the majority of adults are underhydrated. And it leads to health issues, etc. And I believe it because really I probably should be drinking about a gallon a day, but this is a half a gallon. So as long as I make it through one of these, coffee and Topo Chicos, that'll kind of fill in the gap for the most part. But yeah,
a couple vodkas.
Yeah, and I do have not anymore, but I do have also a mantra that I put into play for business every year. You want to hear that?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So last year was lead with love. There was so much divisiveness out there. I just wanted everybody to know that, I wanted to lead with love. I love what I do. I love helping people. I love bringing people together. So that was my mantra last year. This year, LFG. Let's freaking go. Let's do it. So I have a lot of ideas that kind of is stacked up, and this year is all about execution, getting things done. So let's LFG.
Excellent. I like it. Well, this isn't my New Year's resolution, but I chuckled at it, so that's why I put it on here. My goal in 2023 is to accomplish the goals I set in 2022, which I should have done in 2021 because I made a promise in 2020, which I planned in 2019.
That's about right.
That's standard, isn't it?
That's about right.
It was worth a hint anyway. So, all right. So what's going to happen in 2023?
No whammies.
And I put a disclaimer on this one. So, but 2 key questions: are housing prices going to go up or down? Are interest rates going to go up or down? Inflation affects mortgage rates. Rates seem to start moving lower. I mean, that's the first day. Today was a good day on the bond market. But the bottom line is our disclaimer is we're guessing. Just like any time anybody's predicting the future. It is what we call a WAG. And you know what a WAG is, don't you?
Wild ass guess.
That's exactly what it is. So, but what we put out here with data behind it. We don't create this stuff ourselves. A lot of this stuff comes from the technical journals, magazines that we get. It comes from HAR. It comes from, I'm a big Dave Ramsey stuff. A lot of the stuff I use is from Dave Ramsey. So I like to give him credit for that. If you're not aware of Dave Ramsey, you need to call me. I need to turn you on to Mr. Dave Ramsey. I will tell you that I don't believe 100% of everything he says, but I'm about 90% for sure. But let's get started, as the thing says. And before I do that, though, I wanted to show this chart. Now, this chart is a interest rate piece that goes all the way up through, like this is just 2022. Okay. And these points are times of change, but the important thing is I wanted to show this part right here where this is up through about the last week in December. Now, the last week in December wasn't great for rates, but what happens in the bond market is between January or Christmas and January, everybody goes on vacation. There's not many people in the bond traders place. And so it gets erratic. And in this particular case, it got worse. Today, rates were a little better. And we'll talk about that at the end. So housing market prices and sales. Home sales have declined. So the number of houses have declined. You can see this chart. This is from October 2017. And it kind of tracks the units, and the trend for the units was going up and up and up. And this is the seasonality, which is pretty consistent. You see there's a buying and selling season. That's probably March through September would be my guess. Or would you say that that's the selling season is about March through September, maybe August?
Yeah, I would say right around the time taxes are due through after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and then you see a peak here consistently on each year, which is towards the end of the year. A lot of people like to move and get in their house before the first of the year. There's one problem with this graph, 2022. There's no end of year peak. It just kind of fell off the cliff. And this is probably right in here. This is probably May or June is my guess. Well, I say that this is April, so May, and then boy, the last part of this year was brutal for a lot of us. But obviously, home sales have declined. Well, rates have doubled. I mean, that's going to be one of the things that's going to do that. There's still buyer demand. It still seems to be a factor out there. Home price increases have slowed. This is another positive thing, and I always like to get confirmation. Joe, have you seen that? Is that the home prices the increases have slowed?
Oh yeah, or stopped altogether, depending on what neighborhood you're in.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting. The median home price in the U.S. was $427. Now, for the people listening, there's an average price and then there's a median home price. The difference between that is if you take on the average, you just take all the houses that were sold and divide it by the number of units there, you get a number. Actually, the U.S. number was like, believe it or not, 700,000 as the average price. But the median, what you do is you take all those units and you go in the middle. So the middle group of prices, and what tends to happen is when you do average, there are a lot of those big old honking houses that kind of shade it to the higher side. Now, I thought in Houston, this is from HAR, the median was 330,500, and that was less than the previous number in our earlier month was 354. So we're seeing the houses out there, the number of units that are selling is slowed, and the amount that they're selling for seems to be coming down. Now, to me, from a consumer standpoint, that seems like a good thing.
It's a beautiful thing for buyers.
Yeah, exactly. Not so much for the sellers. So home prices are determined by supply and demand. And that's one of the reasons that we're confident that there's not going to be any kind of disaster or a recession in the housing thing. But and this chart here shows that best. This goes back to 1983, is on this lower left-hand side, goes all the way to 2022. And this is the least amount of houses available that there's been in the last, gosh, that's almost 30, 40 years. It's 40 years. So that is the problem. And there are a couple of things that are going along with that are adding to the problem, is that Texas is one of the top 10, maybe even the top 5 states to move to right now. Any reason, any reason why people are moving to Texas?
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Everything. That's exactly what I was going to say. No, it's not. The cost of living in Texas is 92% of what it is in other places. But I like your answer too, and that's obviously why I'm here. So demand is also low because of high rates. Now we can't deny the fact that the cost, when the interest rates went up, that cut a lot of people out of the home buying mode. One, they either didn't want to latch onto a mortgage for 30 years at 7%, or it took them out of the affordability factor, where the mortgage payment was higher than what they'd anticipated when they were looking at 3s and 4s.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they're looking at $500,000 houses, and then all of a sudden the interest rate doubles. Well, now they can only really afford a $350,000, $400,000 house. It's not the same house.
Yeah, that's right.
They kind of pulled the reins back.
So there's an interesting correlation that I have always asked. People say, is there some way to tell what my payment will be if I know the price of the house? And it varies based on the interest rate. But right now, with rates in the 6.5 range, let's just say 6.5, if you buy a $200,000 house, your payment's going to be about $2,000.
Yep.
If you buy a $2,500 house, $250,000 house, your payment will be about $2,500.
Yep.
Now, when rates were in the 2.5s and 3.5s, when you bought a house for $300,000, your payment was about $2,300.
Yep.
And that's a good example of just what the difference is. So, and most people can afford $2,500. Once you get above that, they start choking a little bit on it. Okay, but there are still more people who want to buy than there are homes for sale. So we got this slide here that shows that our inventory of, and this is probably does not include new builds homes, but the new builds are way off right now also. This is probably existing homes. So you got people who want to buy those, but they are balking at the rates, and there are a lot of people moving to Texas, so and the other thing is the millennials are coming into that. Well, they were slow to come into the buying range. So we've got a whole lot of millennials that are looking to buy houses right now that we didn't have before because they were staying home with mama and daddy. This is going to create a market that's similar to the market pre-pandemic. So this is what we're kind of seeing, is the lowering of the price of the houses is good. The rates, if they continue in the mode that they've been for the last, let's just say, month, and they go down, I'm thinking that things are going to be pretty active here in the first part, or this first quarter. Now, I think it may take a while, but I would say, I'm saying that we're getting to almost a normal or a balanced market. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I think people are, it's always after a catastrophic event, everybody kind of puts a stigmatism on something, right? Like houses flooded after Harvey, those houses have a stigmatism on them. They have that scarlet letter. I think as time goes on, the memory or the freshness of that memory in your mind wanes a little bit. So it starts getting back to normal. I think that's what's happening here, is that we had not so much a catastrophic event, but rates really did go from 3, upper 2s all the way up to 7+ in a matter of months.
Yeah.
And that put that scarlet letter on home purchasing, right?
If you don't have cash, don't buy.
Exactly. And as we get further along in the period of time, I think, that mellows out. It's not so much a scary thing. People get used to it, right? They get conditioned with the fact that it is, and the rates have dropped a little bit, which is helpful. But yeah, I think we're in a correcting market. I think depending on what market you're in and what price range, you could even say it's a buyer's market.
Wow, you go there. Well, I love the analogy that you gave as the flood thing because that's so real here in Kingwood. I mean, Kingwood, there were people talking about the demise of Kingwood as a place to live because of the flooding, and now it's hardly even an afterthought. And hopefully, that will go away faster. And I think with the new year, I think it has the possibility to do that. So I hope you're right. All right, is there going to be a housing recession? And I found this as interesting. A housing recession means that the total number of home sales have been shrinking for at least 6 months in a row. Well, guess what? We're there. I think this is the seventh or eighth month that the number of houses sold has declined. But the interesting thing on that is that home prices are not in a recession. So don't get me wrong, people there was some carryover from people the way that they were pricing their houses, and they were ambitious in their pricing, I think is a good way to put it. And they thought that they might get more than they put it on the market. So there were a lot of people, probably a 25%, maybe more, that would have to come back and reduce their price because the market just didn't stand up to the higher prices. It wasn't like it was in 2021 and 2020 even. So um, but Fannie Mae predicts that home sales in 2022 were going to drop by 16.2%. Now, home sales, right? That's not home prices, but home prices are expected to increase in 2023 by still 3 to 4%. So a lot of times you see the headlines, housing is way off. Well, it's off from numbers that were incredibly high. And we went through that for at least a couple years.
The numbers I heard was 13.
It may be, this may have been in October. I picked up some stuff from October. So this may, the one number you have may be closer to correct.
No, it seems in line though. I mean, overall, the total amount of transactions is going to be less for sure.
On this right side, I put this graph, and I've used this graph before, but it's the potential growth in household wealth over the next 5 years based solely on increased home equity. And this is based on this 3 and 4% a year. You buy a home, let's say you bought it in January of 2023 for 360 in, well, actually that's 2022. 2023, you're going to increase the value by about $30,000. It does about $20,000. It goes up another $15,000. It goes up another 10, anyway, you get increases consistently, and that's the way real estate works. And even when you're having this, and actually I can remember a time when 3 and 4%, we'd celebrate that. We've never had years like we did with 20 and 20%. So you can buy a house and come out very nicely with this kind of appreciation. All right, could home prices go down? Well, let's talk about it. I picked up this slide, and these are when I was looking to find out if Texas was still one of the top states to move into. And they actually, in this little graphic, they've graded the places to live. They've got, looks like Houston and the Valley as A pluses. They've got, looks like that may be Lubbock, I think is an A. For some reason, they've got a C plus on Dallas and maybe Waco. I don't know why. Maybe it's the cost. That's probably what it is the cost. And then in this one that got a B here, what do you think that is? Is that Austin, San Antonio, you think?
Kind of looks like San Antonio, but I think it's too far south.
Yeah, maybe too far south. Houston maybe too. Anyway, I just looking at Houston's A plus, so we're good there.
Yeah, and I know why Dallas is a C plus. Have you ever tried to drive on their highways over there? God.
Oh yeah, well, trust me, I grew up in Dallas, so I know a little bit about it. I was there not too long ago. So the factors that could cause home prices to go down are the same that make them go up: supply and demand. And in this, I tried to make the case of we have a lot of people that want to own their own home. There's a lot of pent-up demand for houses right now because, gosh, in the last 3 or 4 months, nobody's been buying. There have been very few houses sold. There are a lot of people moving to Texas, and that's because the Texas cost of living index is at 92.1%. It's a lower cost place to live than a lot of places in the United States. And you know what? When we got air conditioning, it took a while for people to discover Texas, but air conditioning made this a heck of a good place to live. interest rates would have to continue going up to curb demand. And that is not what we're seeing, at least in the early stages. And again, we're guessing, but we also are looking at the numbers. There's also, I just heard this morning that I think Germany's inflation had gone down by 2 points. That's a global thing, and inflation it's global because we all work with each other. That's a good thing. The fact that there's going to be a recession, not just in the United States, but globally, there's going to be recessions predicted, and interest rates come down when there's a recession. Now they don't come on a lot, but it could be 1%, and 1% for us would be really important. Supply is notably, I don't think I did that right, notably low already. My spelling may be suspect here. But anyway, could prices go down? Home prices, I guess they could go down. Rates could go down. We're seeing that already. I just don't see home prices going down by any measurable amount, though.
I don't see them going down. What I see on the market, Mike, is adjustments in inflated prices when they initially listed.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
There's a lot of people that listed at a price too high.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Okay, so housing market 2023 back to normal. Well, if we coming off this rabid pace that we've had for the last year and a half, this may be as close to normal as we're going to be for a while. But headlines make it seem worse than it is. Fannie and Freddie predict lower units sold. We said that before. Home prices will soften to a normal growth rate of between 2 and 4%. My suggestion is you ignore the headlines and just talk to your professionals. Call Joe, call me. Yeah. Sales could worsen, but in context, the last 2 years have been extraordinarily good. And they're going to worsen from what they may have been then. But, the key thing is that home prices seem to be holding their value. The appreciation is still moving in the positive manner. And owning a home is still one of the best investments you can make. So find out how much your home is worth. Do you have equity? Let Joe Salas help you discover how much your home is worth. Then you can decide what your options are. Joe, tell the people on here, what does a comparative market analysis, what are the process of doing that?
Well, try to do a hyper local exercise on the sale of homes in an area, defined area, comparable to the home or the subject property that I'm wanting to look at, or somebody has called me about. So simply, and it's not simple, but making a boundary, looking at the homes inside that boundary, sales, active, pending continue to show, option pending, looking at those and developing a sense of the market price for the home that is the subject property.
Okay. So it takes a little research, takes a little time to pull that stuff together.
Oh, yeah.
But you're willing to do an intensive comparative market analysis at no charge for anybody that
Totally free.
reaches out to you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just wanted to make sure of that. And I think in this market, there's going to be some people that have pin up reason to sell and or to buy. So I think that's worthy. So what about interest rates? Well, this is the amount that I was mentioning before of the reduction in interest rates, the last 6 recessions that we had. 1980, it came down 4 1/4. Now keep in mind, rates were in the teens at that time. In 81, it was probably the same thing. In 91, though, they started getting better, but they still had a 2 1/4 reduction in rate. 2001, almost a little more than half a point. 2008 was 1 1/8. And then in 2020, rates came down a full point. So inflation is the main concern. If inflation is curbed, rates should get better. If we have a recession, rates will get better. If rates continue to increase, demand will be less. There is this mentality that people said, look, I'm not going to go to this particular rate. And I'll tell you, when it went to 7% or maybe even mid 6s, it pretty much hit the skids at that point. So today's mortgage rates, this is what it looks like if you were to lock today. This is based on 30-year fix for conventional at 6 1/4. That's at a 740 FICO score. Now, that reminds me, you've got a program that it doesn't matter what, as long as you qualify, you can have a 620 FICO score to an 800 FICO score, and you'd still get that 6.25% interest rate. A lot of people don't know that program. Love for you to call me.
Oh yeah.
15-year rate 5.875 is terrific. And I put on there today an FHA rate just because there are probably some people out there that know and have done FHA before. FHA rate a little lower than the conventional rate at 6.125. So we're not that far. We were down about 5 to 5.99 about 3 weeks ago. And what I hope happens is before January ends, that's going to be the norm. So we'll see about that. Additional questions. I mean, there are a ton of questions, and you can answer any of these you want, or we could put these off to next week. But will housing demand from buyers remain strong? Don't know. Is it a seller's market right now? Don't think so.
Nope.
When will it be a buyer's market?
Right now.
Probably like right now.
Right now. You want to buy a house? Buy it right now.
Yeah. Why are houses selling so fast? Well, I'd say that they're not selling so fast. If you've got a great home and a reason at a good price, one that's move-in ready, it'll sell probably, what do you think? A week, 2 weeks, something like that?
You got to price it right, Mike. You got to price it right. I contracted in 4 days on a $800,000 house, $850,000 house. You got to price it right. You got to look at what the data from the market is saying. And as a listing agent, which I love to be listing agents because that data is more of a deciding factor. Sometimes on the buyer side, emotions can get ahead of the game, but on the sell side, it's all about data. And my approach to pricing a house on the market is to come in a little bit under what the market will bear, because it doesn't matter what I say the house is worth, and it really doesn't matter what the seller says the house is worth. It matters what the market says it's worth. And if you're pricing it too high, which a lot of people have done, that's why you see houses sitting on the market for 50 plus days, 100 plus days. They priced it too high. And they miss the boat. As soon as you make it past the first 2 or 3 weeks, people start questioning what's wrong with the house. Why is it sitting so long? You got to sell it quickly. You got to price it right. And that's what I'm seeing is the fact that, the houses that didn't sell fast or quickly did not price it right.
Interesting. Well, I've got a task for you then. I'm going to be the first one to take you up on pricing that house because my Pasadena house is about ready. It's very close to being ready.
Are me and Sandy going to get like fist fight combat or what's going on?
Did I do something?
Can you hear me? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
Did you do something? I can't hear you.
Oh, unplug your headphones.
Let's see.
No, I can't hear you now. Now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
Now, yes?
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder what I did. Okay. Well,
that's our sign.
Let's see. All right. Anyway, we'll go get to these questions. If there are technical difficulties right now, I apologize for that because I can't hear Joe. And I wonder if I did something I may have. Anyway, so be it. Thank you if you can hear me. And we'll see you next week. Joe, I'm going to call you right after this, okay?
Okay.
But now let's just go. Let me do this. And we're going to go to here. And, oh, shoot. Not yet. Dog.
Welcome to Better Credit, Better Home. Your source for the latest local and national news that can impact you if you are in the market for real estate. Here are your hosts.
Oh, I can mess up a wet dream, I tell you.
Thanks for listening to Better Credit, Better Home. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you're looking for a great mortgage professional, reach out to Mike at KingwoodMortgageGuys.com. Or if you're looking for a home inspector or awesome realtor, reach out to Joe Salas with Jane Byrd Properties International.
Mm.